Hey everyone, welcome to the Wisconsin Whistle. I'm your host, Dan Dyhard, Vachalek. We got a packed show today as the Bucks got back into action. They went 2-1 on these last three games since we last talked. Marquette went 1-1. Wisconsin went 1-1. We talked about the tough losses for Marquette and Wisconsin, and then we'll talk about their nice victories last night. Last night was a really packed sports show. Sports event. All three teams played last night. We talked some Brewers, and then it's NFL Combine week, so there's some Packers news going on. Gutekunst talked yesterday. Murphy talked. Are they banning something? Did they propose it? We'll get into that. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, welcome to the Wisconsin Whistle. Again, I'm your host, Dan Dyhard Vachalek. Just wanted to start off the show by saying if you would like to support it, check out that link below. So to jump right in, there was grades that came out today for all the NFL teams this year. Not much really changed on the top. Some notable movements, though, were the Commanders. They jumped to 11th. The Chargers jumped into the top 5. So that's something interesting to watch. Woody Johnson and the Jets are dead. He was the worst owner in the league. That's notable as well, especially with two ex-Packers, Rodgers and Adams, that were on the team that are leaving and looking for a new home. Multiple teams could be in on them. The Packers, though, from what I've been reading, they won't be looking at Adams. Rodgers definitely isn't coming back, and I think those two are going together. So we can cross that off the list. T. Higgins, I believe, is going to be franchise tagged. You can cross him off the list as well. And that kind of leads into Gutekunst's comments about, he believes the Packers do have a lot of depth and quality wide receivers. And he didn't agree with Josh Jacobs' comments that before the Super Bowl that, they need a true number one wide receiver. They think that they can run with who they have. So that was interesting to note. Also, he kind of dodged the question and then showed that he didn't really watch football, I guess, or the Packers as well as you would think that he did or have a recollection of it. As I saw all over Twitter, and I agreed. That was my first thought as well with the tush push. So a team originally will jump to the front. A team said, hey, we're going to put a proposal in to ban the tush push. Well, it was the Packers. That didn't take long to discover. Mark Murphy, definitely spoke his words about how he didn't like it. And then Gutekunst came out and he said, he somewhat agreed, but his phrasing for the tush push was like, we haven't had success stopping it. And the Packers have been one of the more successful teams in stopping it. They stopped it against the Eagles a couple of times. When it originally came out, I thought it was the Commanders, especially they kept jumping over the line and stuff, and we're going to be awarded a touchdown against them. But it was the Packers, so we'll dive into that, dive into how the grades turned out as well. The Bucks had a tough loss last night. It was, let me start off by saying putting all three teams together on the same night, which they do repetitively, usually it's Marquette and Wisconsin on the same night, is kind of frustrating. I get, it's not those teams' faults exactly, but it's frustrating because I want to watch all three. And especially you have Marquette on YouTube TV. I have YouTube TV, so that's why I'm going to say that. Marquette on YouTube TV, the Bucks FanDuel Sports Network, which you have to pay for unless you have like Spectrum or Dish or whatever. And then you have Wisconsin on Peacock. So I have three different networks, three different streaming services. I can't jump between them and watch, you got to watch like, okay, a little bit here and then switch to a whole different network. I could do phone and TV, but again, now I'm half paying attention to them and I don't like that. But Marquette had a super nice victory last night. Wisconsin the same way, kept it on the gas all game. That was great. The Bucks kind of disappointing finish. I'll talk about some of that stuff after two nice victories. One was against the Wizards, though, so I guess you take that with a grain of salt. And then the other one was, I believe, against the Heat. So we'll get into that in this show, so make sure to stay tuned. Let's hear a word from our sponsors real quick. You're listening to the Wisconsin Whistle on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at iSports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making iSports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right, everyone, welcome back. Again, you're listening to the Wisconsin Whistle, your host, Dan Vachalek, a.k.a. Dyhard, on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. You can follow the show Twitter right there. Follow my Twitter right there, and then support the podcast is on the bottom. So I'm going to jump right in, but, when Saturday hit, I was full board thinking, oh, wow, this is going to be a very negative show. Probably mid-Saturday, because the Bucks really didn't look good against the Wizards. I didn't think they looked good outside of the third quarter against them. Some of the second as well. Almost lost, actually. If Chris Middleton would have smacked that three in, it would have went to overtime, which is, completely unacceptable to the Wizards. Marquette looked, just embarrassing. They started off, I think, like 0 for 7 or 0 for 6. I don't even know if I wrote that down, what they exactly were. But, they couldn't hit a three to save their life, and Villanova was like 8 of 10 or something. They were up 13 within 5 minutes. That was a terrible game. And then the Badgers played well. I think they were up double digits with like 8 minutes to go. And then they just stopped making shots, stopped forcing, stopped penetrating, turnovers. It just looked horrible. It tossed the game away and ended up losing in overtime to Oregon. So mid-Saturday, I'm thinking, wow, this is not going to be a fun show this week, because it's going to be a lot of negative. Wisconsin tossed away the chance to win the Big East regular season, or the Big Ten regular season title, especially with Michigan losing, which is what they needed, and need another loss by Michigan, but now it's irrelevant. It started off very disappointing, and then the Bucks played the Heat, won, and last night, outside of the Bucks losing a tough game that I think they definitely should have won, and there's some issues that I'll get into a little bit later after we talk Packers, but, Marquette looked very good. Super good. Wisconsin looks super good. They look like how they've been looking for most of the season, and it was very positive to see those two results. So this show really isn't going to be very negative like what I was anticipating. As you can see with sports, how fast things could turn from negative to positive. One day's negative, one day's positive. So, I'm happy that it's going to be a pretty positive show, nice outlook and stuff. So just wanted to start off with that. But we're going to start off with the Packers, as that's been the biggest news pretty much everywhere, including, ESPN, the big media people with the combine going on, that an NFL team had proposed banning the tush push. Now, there's one team that's predominantly known for the tush push. They kind of got the name of it given to them. It's the Philadelphia Eagles, which they've had a lot of success doing it. Actually, the Eagles and the Bills over the last 3 years have ran it 163 times with an 87% success rate on either first down or scoring a touchdown for it. The rest of the league is at 71% on it in the last 3 years. But the Packers were the team that ended up putting in the tush push. Mark Murphy had some very negative comments about it. He said that it is the easiest play to run. It's not a football play. Gutekunst kind of said that the Packers don't stop it well. It takes no skill, but he has to look at the safety things to determine a factor on if he's going to, vote to ban it or not. And it's just kind of weird that the Packers are the one that put it in, because they're probably one of the better teams at actually stopping it. So, and then, my opinion too with the Packers is you guys used it. It worked well. You except you put your own twist on it. Tucker Kraft utilized it. So, I mean, you guys want to use it because it is available, but then you want to ban it at the same time. It's just very confusing. But overall, I really think that this doesn't need to be banned fully. I think some modifications maybe need to be used, something that makes it a little more fair. Obviously, a 71% success rate is pretty good. 87% by two teams, they pretty much mastered it. But there definitely needs to be some modifications for it. It's kind of hard for me. I'm not in full agreement of banning it, but I'm not totally against banning it either. It's kind of like a rugby scrum in a sense, but I've watched Jalen Hurts, I've watched Josh Allen, I've watched these players actually get past the line of scrimmage without anyone pushing them, and then end up getting 2-3 extra more yards because of the push. It's not so much, when you run it, okay, it's inches to go because everyone's going to do a sneak anyway, and that's a very high success rate as well. But being like 3rd and 2, 4th and 2, and you're coming out there to run this sneak, and you're successfully doing it 87% of the time. I know it's not every time it's and 2, but if you're very successful at it, no matter what it is, inches, 1st, 2nd, it's tough to say no, don't stop it. It's tough to say that yes, that's a valid football play with having, big linemen behind them, tight ends, whoever, defensive linemen behind them, pushing this quarterback forward. Now, the Eagles run this successfully because Jalen Hurts has an incredible squat. And I'm talking weightlifting. I think he does 500-600 pounds with ease. I've seen Saquon Barkley do 700 pounds, I believe it was. He's an insane number. His thighs are enormous. His legs are enormous. So you got those two guys, especially for this year. And then you put, let's say, if you put a defensive end or defensive tackle, a big guy, 300-some pounds, obviously they already have force, but now you're giving them, 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage to run and end up pushing. You have a lot of power going against guys that already have power going against them. So you have, let's say, everyone's 325 pounds on the defensive line up there. You got 6 defensive line guys, 7 maybe up against the line of scrimmage, and then everyone else. Then on offense, you have the 5 offensive linemen, the 2 tight ends. Then you got, the quarterback, running back. They could squat a lot. You know, A.J. Dillon's another guy who could squat a lot. If you put another 325-pound guy back there, a defensive lineman, offensive lineman, backup, whatever, that's a lot of weight pushing forward, and that's going to be hard for the defensive line to stop that. So that's definitely a pro to banning this rule. But at the same time, this is a football play still at the end of the day. So why ban it just because it works? Figure out how to stop it. There are ways to stop it, crunching the line, diving down as a defensive lineman instead of, going forward. There's different ways to stop it. And that, I think, is going to be the tough part of figuring it out if it doesn't get banned, is how to exactly stop this. You've had 3 years to figure it out. Somebody should figure it out. But I'm not totally in agreement with banning it. I definitely think some modifications need to be used. If you're going to run this, maybe only one guy in the backfield, maybe only one player is allowed to push another player instead of multiple pushing. There's modifications that can be done. I don't think obviously the health safety factor of it is always going to be a risk, but that's football. It's not like what they're doing with kickoffs where they keep trying to force new changes because of all these, safety protocols, the concussion risks and all this. But then, the on-field product is terrible. So then they try to keep making modifications. It's like they're little, it's like a OCD thing for the NFL that they have to touch the kickoff every year because now they want to put the kick return if it goes through the back of the end zone or a touchback to the 35. Now you're giving teams, 5 extra yards on offense already towards the touchdown. And I don't think that's very advantageous, especially when you have kickers that can boot the ball 65, 70 yards. As we saw with Aubrey in Dallas, his foot is ridiculous. You're going to have 70-yard field goals pretty soon. Anytime you get to the 40-yard line, 45-yard line, your own 45-yard line, with how these kickers are, it's going to be almost a to-go territory for your guys on offense at all points of the game. So it's going to be kind of tough to make, adjustments outside of doing what they should be doing, is pushing the kicker back a little bit and making him kick at maybe their own 25 or 20 and seeing if he could still kick it out of the end zone that way. But that's more league talk. I'm not sure when the league meetings are. I think next month after, we're at combine week, so there really isn't league meetings going on. But there was some grades that came out as I spoke pre-show, and some teams that didn't really change much. There were some teams that went way up. The Chargers went way up. The Commanders jumped super high. They have new ownership, new players. The Cardinals ranked last. The Jets owner was last among owners. The Packers, though, most of their grades stayed consistent. So when this started in 2023, there were only 8 categories. It was treatment of families, nutritionist, dietitian, locker room, training staff, weight room, strength coaches, and team travel. They've added ownership, head coach, and food and dining area since in 2024, and they've continued that this season as well. So the Packers improved on the treatment of families from last year, but still is not back to 2023 par. Their treatment of families was a B. Food and dining area improved from a B plus to an A minus. Now, the interesting one here is this. Nutritionist, dietitian improved to an A, back to an A, but their strength coaches are at a B. Their training staff is at a B. And those two, to me, all 3 of those kind of go hand in hand a little bit, because strength coaches should be working with the nutritionist and dietitian. The training staff should also be working with them, and that should be part of the training staff. So if you're going to give the nutritionist and dietitian an A, and the training staff overall is a B, excuse me, to me, it looks like the training staff outside of the nutrition and dietitianist is probably in the C range, B minus, C plus range, and the nutritionist dietitian raised up that training staff grade. Those also aren't too big of shockers just because they did suffer injuries this season, most notably the wide receivers against the Eagles in the NFC divisional round. Jordan Love missed some time. Defensive players missed time. Jair Alexander, who's another point of topic, he missed a lot of time. He continuously misses time. So, that I'm not really shocked by that. The strength coaches did go down. Ownership actually went down from A to an A minus. Weight room stayed the same at an A, consistent A. Locker room went up, though, to a B. Training room went up to an A minus. That's the highest grade that's been. I guess they spent the most time there, maybe. So it looks better. Strength coaches, though, is the one big drop. It went from A in 2023 to A minus to now a B. Team travel and head coach were both A minuses, both upgrades from B pluses. So I'm not exactly sure where they ranked. I think they said they ranked like 8th overall. LaFleur, 93% of Packers players feel LaFleur is efficient with their time, a rank of 18 out of 32, and that LaFleur is moderately receptive to locker room feedback on the team's needs, ranking him 23 out of 32 head coaches. Now, that one's a little concerning to me, especially when he rated the head coach an A minus. he's ranked 23 out of 32 head coaches on receptive to the locker room feedback, and 18th, which is about mid-pack. I'd say that's a C, is efficient with their time. So that's a little concerning. I do like Matt LaFleur as a head coach, but not listening to the locker room is kind of a big thing, especially when the players are actually on the field. There's a lot of weird calls and a lot of weird stuff that a lot of fans complain about him, not being aggressive in certain areas, being conservative in certain areas. Like last year, I'm not sure where he ranked last year, but last year where he kind of deflected the defensive coordinator attacks considerably, which there's nothing wrong with that. You know, you got to stand up with your guys, but not being receptive to the locker room. I'm not sure, again, where he ranked last year, but being 23rd out of 32 is not a sign of positivity. They're 7th this year, though, in all categories. They're 7th this year, so I am seeing that. The Vikings were 2nd, Detroit was 9th, and Chicago was 14th in the NFC North family. So, you know, not too bad. Mark Murphy actually was ranked 7th out of 32 owners. I know he's not an official owner, but he acts as owner. He's president and CEO, so he acts as the owner. I know it's fan-owned, I guess. It's not really fan-owned. It's publicly traded. I'm an owner. I have a sheet of paper that says I'm an owner. I know there's Ty Schmidt. He's another well-known owner. I'm not well-known, but he's a well-known owner. There's a bunch of other well-known owners as well that just, you know, paid for the thing and buys it. Miami was ranked number 1. Big change actually was the Falcons 25th to 3rd, Chargers 30th to 5th, and so that's the rankings. People don't really talk about them too much. Kind of take it with a grain of salt because it is players' feedback. You don't know, you know, maybe a couple players were pissed off and put bad grades. Maybe Jair Alexander, who they said originally that they won't be shopping him, but they got to figure it out now. Apparently, they're shopping him around. So, like I said, when this offseason started, I'm not picturing that he's going to be with the Packers. I don't imagine that they're going to cut him immediately unless they can't find anyone to give him anything. They're not they want something in return for him. Obviously, he's super good when he is on the field, but getting them actually on the field is a problem. Some other notable things that Gutekunst had said is the QBs are still on their draft radar. That's a little interesting to me, especially when you have, I think Malik Willis is still going to be around as a backup. I that's my fault for not actually researching that, but he might be. Outside of that, Sean Clifford really didn't work out, and that guy from Tulane, Michael Pratt, he clearly didn't work out. As they went after Malik Willis right after preseason, so they're still on the draft radar. It's not a bad thing. I'm not saying like, you know, I don't think they're saying, hey, we're going to take over Jordan Love's spot. We need a better quarterback, like what the Colts said. That was pretty alarming by the Colts, saying, hey, we're going to bring in quarterback competition, and it needs to be serious competition with a veteran. And I mean, that's pretty much saying, hey, Anthony Richardson, you're not ready to go. And the Packers are not saying that, so don't take that out of context, but they are still looking at quarterbacks. So if they do pick 1, 3rd, 4th round, you know, don't be shocked. I don't really see too many guys in this draft being, you know, top quarterbacks. So there is some backups, nice quality backups in the draft. This draft's a little different. I definitely think because the Packers need edge that they should go after some D linemen in this draft. It's heavy, pretty heavy defensive line oriented this season. There's some good corners as well that they need to go after. They still want to compete for a championship. But speaking of defensive ends, as he said, he needs more consistency from the defensive line. Van Ness especially needs to make a big jump next season. I definitely agree, But again, that's where I said pre-show where I'm not sure if Gutekunst exactly watches the Packers fully, because there was a large portion of the season where it seemed like Van Ness wasn't even on the field. He was standing on the sidelines. You didn't see him. He would make a great play, and then all of a sudden the next drive, you don't see him, and maybe like a sporadic play here or there. So getting them actually on the field and into a rhythm is going to be key as well. And he also wants Brandon McManus as the kicker. They're working on that. So that's very positive to see. I would love to get McManus back in here, especially with what's his name? Narvison. He was awful. How bad he was. Just the Packers haven't had kickers, consistent kickers since Longwell and Basic Crosby. And unfortunately, before we got rid of both of them, they both kind of Longwell, not really. More so Crosby kind of fell off, and it's disappointing because they had great careers with us. Longwell, unfortunately, went to the Vikings after he left us. But it's going to be draft week. They start doing drills in 40s tomorrow. I'm not sure how it starts, but it's I know offensive linemen go Sunday. I think quarterbacks and everything go Saturday. Wide receivers probably. I think it's defense. I'm not sure. If someone knows the exact schedule, let me know in the comments. I'll stop whatever topic I'm talking about and just mention it, because I forget what it is exactly, but I love watching them. I'm going to watch it regardless. Don't care what's on. I'm watching it, or I'll watch it along with whatever else I'm watching. It's usually during the day, afternoon and stuff. So that'll be interesting. So enough NFL talk. I could probably go on for about 4 hours on NFL talk almost daily. Speaking of NFL, let's switch over to the Bucs, where I do say speaking because Aaron Rodgers has been involved. Edgerrin Cooper was just at a game recently, so it's relatable. You relate whatever you want to relate, however you want to relate it, and it works. So the Bucs play the Nuggets tomorrow night. I do want to start this off. They play the Nuggets. This is a very, very, very massive game. The biggest reason that this is a massive game is because they play Nikola Jokic, the Joker. Interesting numbers is his ranks. Third in points, rebounds, and assists in the NBA, and second in assists. This guy is as tall as Giannis, actually taller. I think he's 7'1". And steals and assists, he's in the top 5 in the NBA. Obviously, he's a MVP contender every single year. He's a triple-double threat every single night. And he's going to be almost impossible to stop. Giannis and him go head-to-head, and those are fun matchups. Luckily, actually, unfortunately, rather, we've never seen Embiid and Jokic play because Embiid always has to sit out. Just like when Giannis plays him, he always sits out. Or, when Giannis doesn't play, Embiid's playing. So, this is going to be a fun, super fun matchup. And the thing that is different, I guess, because last night we saw Sengun just basically have his will back down players and do whatever he wanted down low, especially against Lopez. Kind of a point where maybe we missed Bobby Portis. But Joker doesn't really back players down too much, but he will make passes. He will draw double teams and find the open guy, cross-court passes. I mean, he is a very good player, and if there's anyone that I would say is a better overall player currently in the NBA than Giannis, it would probably be him, just because of his versatility, his defense, offense. He can shoot a three. I mean, that's a very talented player. And the Bucs have, some defensive problems. I'm just going to say that. They have some defensive problems that still have not gotten fixed. We saw last night there was a lot of issues going on. Offensive rebound was a big one. Let me see. They had 4 offensive rebounds compared to 16. And that's a really big issue. They shot comparably well. I mean, they pretty much had the same shooting numbers as the Rockets, but offensive rebounds was a major killer. Total rebounds was a killer because of that. They did get blocked more times. And there was – I told myself I didn't really want to get into this, but I'm going to get into this a little bit because it's kind of bullshit. I'm not sure what Dame has to do to get a continuation foul. I see it consistently in almost every game where he gets fouled and is in the shooting motion or continues to shoot, and they always keep calling it a ground foul. And that happened last night as well. Everyone knew they were going to foul. Dame even said it after the game. He heard them saying foul, foul, foul. So he knew, hey, I got to get this shot up right away. And of course, he was mid-shot, and they call it a ground foul. And that's just starting to really piss me off that he cannot get a continuation. But you see all these other players get continuation 2-3 steps after the foul. Jimmy Butler gets the shit. Other players get the call. Just give Dame the call sometime. Like, I mean, he definitely deserves it. He's one of the best players. He's not a bad player anymore, but he's not Dame like how he used to be. He definitely has aged a little bit, but he's still a superstar, and he definitely deserves the calls. Definitely deserves at least some benefit of the doubt here. Last night, though, he was 7 of 22, and you know, people were blaming Giannis for some problems. They wanted to really hop on Kuzma, and you know, it's not a problem to hop on Kuzma because he definitely deserves, you know, he didn't have a good game. He didn't. He was 1 of 6 from 3, 4 of 10 from the field. He had 12 points, but he did have 8 boards. He was getting 6 boards, sorry. He was getting boards, 1 of 4 from 3. I was looking at Lopez's stats. You know, 6 boards, 9 points actually. I gave you Lopez's stats, which I'll get into him in a second too. But Kuzma he earned a bad game, and that's fine. Everyone has, you know, bad games. But the difference between Kuzma and Middleton is night and day. Middleton against the Bucks, a couple of years ago, he would have banked that shot in. It would have been no question at all. Now, no, not at all. Defense, not at all. I mean, just these last 3 games, and I'll even say last night included, the difference between Kuzma and Middleton is night and day. Kuzma is able to move the ball. He's able to really, like, guard people. He's a rim protector. He can move the offense around. He can shoot mid-range. He's been aggressive. There was a couple times last night where he didn't go up strong, but he's an aggressive player that's able to move around. And while he is a different player than Middleton, this year especially, he's what the Bucks need. He's that type of player that the Bucks definitely needed as a fresh face. He's like a rejuvenation of what they used to have with flexibility. He's young. And maybe they need to take some of that into consideration at the center position. I did really like Kuzma and Sims together in the lineup. I also like Kevin Porter Jr. in the lineup with them. I'm plus minus is, you know, you need to take it into context, but you could use it accurately and you could use it very poorly. And Kuzma's plus minus was -10, Sims -9, Porter -5, and then, you know, turn it around, Lopez +9, AJ Green +7. But Jericho Sims is that defensive guy down low. Obviously, he only had 3 boards, and he's really more known for his rebounding and defense and everything. And I would not be opposed to adding more playing time for him, especially with Portis out. You have to get someone else that could be down low. And while Lopez did have 3 blocks and 8 rebounds last night, I'm just sick and tired of Lopez standing at the 3-point line. You are 7 feet tall, 7'1". The majority of your shots every single game are from the 3-point line. With 30 seconds left, you took a 40-foot 3 You were 5 feet behind the line, an awful shot. You said, well, when it feels good, it feels no three should feel great for you. That's not you. Yes, you do have some success with them. You're shooting them pretty well overall, number-wise this year. But there are so many times that you have killed the offense by sitting at the three, shooting a three. It just bricks off, and now all of a sudden you have to half-ass run down the floor. You look lost. Your defense isn't there. And Lopez does not need 35 minutes a game. That is the one thing that I have to complain about. 35 minutes from Lopez is not going to work. Not in the playoffs, not now, not against a good team, not against a bad team. Give him 25 and call it a night. Give Kevin Porter Jr. more playing time. Andre Jackson Jr. had 0 minutes again. Don't know why he's not getting playing time since the All-Star break. I don't know if maybe it was his dunk contest sucked. So, hey, you can't even dunk. You embarrassed us. He got punished. I don't know. But he doesn't get playing time anymore. Kevin Porter Jr. gets 11 minutes a game, and then he's out. I think the turnovers have been an issue for him, though. He had 4 last night, led the team, and you played the least minutes out of anybody who actually touched the floor. So that's not really positive. But, Lopez definitely needs a change. I don't know if they've talked to him. I don't know what's going on. He's slow. He's statue-like. But standing at the three, and then he's got that, if you've ever worked in like a factory or ever worked in like a warehouse, you know the guys that don't do anything, but then when they see the boss, they kind of look like they're busy, or they walk around all day with a broom but haven't swept a piece of floor yet. That's Lopez. He looks like he's busy the whole day, the whole time he's at the three-point line. He kind of like fakes like he's going in, but then stands there. He looks around with he opens his eyes and looks around and fakes like he's going to guard someone or half-ass guard someone, and then all of a sudden he's still at the three-point line, not crashing the boards, still standing there, and Giannis is running to, without Lopez being there as, maybe a support. If they double team Giannis, well, if he kicks it out to Lopez, he's at the three and now he's bricking it or he's making it. And Lopez is just getting a little out of control at the three-point line. It's frustrating. Just keep seeing him stand at the three-point line. Maybe some plays, why don't you get towards the paint a little bit? If you can shoot threes and you're comfortable with threes, you should be able to shoot a mid-range and you should be able to shoot next to the basket. If you're 7'1", get down there, get some boards. You're taller than a lot of players. Get the boards and stay down low and play better defense. Even if you just take up the paint, you're just there as a big presence in the paint. That's cool too. You don't have to be very mobile or stuff like that, but it definitely needs to be a change, and playing 35 minutes is not going to be sustainable for him. Also, him and Taurean Prince together on the floor is a very slow team. Transition is not good. Defense looks a lot different. Putting Gary Trent in there, AJ Green is a breath of fresh air. He was actually 4 of 8 from 3 last night, 5 rebounds. He can get boards too. He just had 3 fouls, but played 33 minutes. Just having better rotations is gonna definitely be key. Giving players a little more playing time. Definitely getting Andre Jackson Jr. in the game is definitely going to be playing time. The nice thing though is that the Bucks were for most of the season dead last in fourth quarter offense and scoring. And I'm not sure what game it was, but going into I think the Miami Heat game, on their last 3. Basically, since the All-Star game to the Miami Heat game. I won't say last night because last night just reverted right back. But they were top 8, and that's kind of made up for their very – I don't even know if very is a good word to describe it, because it was – 32-19 at the end of the first against Washington. And – that game, that was going on, I think, the same time as Marquette was playing, and I was not happy. I didn't even – honestly, I kind of wanted to turn off both games at that point. And then against Miami, 37-23 at the end of the first. So, I mean, they've literally just fallen apart. Actually, not even falling apart. They forgot to show up. Still in the locker room. Slow starts really killed them last night. Both teams, Rockets and the Bucks, they both shot really bad from three to start off the game. Bucks actually got saved by getting to the line a lot, but 12 points in the fourth quarter is really, really, really bad. It was like 6 minutes or 7 minutes where they didn't score a point. I don't even know how many times they got to the line in the fourth quarter. I'm trying to look up that right now, but not really getting to the line. They weren't aggressive. They got saved, honestly, by Houston only scoring 15 in the fourth, too. That was definitely a big save. Also, Thompson, that was a really dangerous call, and that probably should have been a flagrant 2 right away. He had both of his arms wrapped around Giannis's neck and then pulled him down on a shot attempt. And that play right there gave me flashbacks of me being in the stands when Andrew Bogut went up for a dunk and Amari Stoudemire pulled him by the back. I believe it was either his jersey or like his neck or whatever area, and basically ruined Bogut. Bogut used to actually be a reliable free throw shooter, or appeared to be one. He had kind of somewhat of a shot. He made a presence, and because of the elbow break or the arm break or whatever part of his arm he messed up, even his shot was completely different. His free throws were not good, and that kind of gave me somewhat flashbacks of that a little bit. But that was definitely concerning, and that should have been a flagrant 2 immediately, and I'm happy it was, and he did get ejected because, stuff like that you really don't need in the game. I know back in the day with Rodman and Barkley and stuff, and even Larry Bird, they were violent, and that's fine. But, as players going up for shots, they weren't – I don't think back in the day they were trying to hurt players. They were just trying to, fight and be aggressive and physical. And, they weren't trying to, actually hurt them or cause, problems. But I do think they were trying to fight, be aggressive, and, kind of bully other players. And this, to me, wasn't that type of play. It was more of like just an unnecessary play that doesn't need to be around. But outside of that, though, the Bucks really have to play better offense in the fourth. I mean, you were in the game pretty much all game. I think you had a lead going into the fourth, and just not showing up is not going to be acceptable. And Dame shooting 7 of 22, you need better shooting. You just need it, and you need defense. Sengun had 23 points. I don't really even know how to describe the impact that Sengun had, because he kind of had his way, 8 of 16. And he got to the line a lot. He had his way down low. He did spin moves. He did all type of stuff down low. I mean, no one could stop him. We had no answers for him. And when it comes playoff time, getting a solid defensive stops down low is going to be very vital. You're not going to compete against, I'd say, even the Knicks, the Pacers, against players that are down low. And speaking of playoffs, the Cavs, the Knicks, and the Celtics, to me, I think the Bucks should be able to beat the Knicks. But those 3 teams are going to be probably detrimental to the Bucks unless they fix things around. I believe they're 0-9 against them so far this year. Right now, they're not beating the Celtics. Right now, they're not beating the Cavs. And how Detroit's been playing, that's going to be a tough series. I don't think Detroit can beat us in a full series. I don't think they would. I think the Bucks could take Detroit. But the Pacers, that would be very tough. And that's really all who I'm worried about. And, I think the Magic aren't really anything. That's all I'm worried about, really, though, is the Celtics, the Cavs, and the Knicks in the East. Maybe the Pistons, the Pacers, not too much. Not the Hawks, definitely not the Heat, and the Bulls are rounding it off. I mean, the Bulls, the Heat, they're definitely. I'm sorry, but 23-35, and you're in a playoff spot is just really bad. That's not good, and the East is not a good conference. So playing against the West is not. If the Bucks made it to the NBA championship somehow, they're not beating OKC, Memphis, Denver. I mean, I don't think they're beating most of those teams in a 7-game series, especially with how they're playing. For round up the Bucks talk, if anyone missed it, Portis was suspended 25 games. I think he served 3 so far. The Wizards, the Heat, and this in the Rockets game last night. So he's got 22 more games. He should be back before the end of the regular season. But now this is just stupid. I don't care, what excuse you make. You took the wrong medication. And if you're not taking prescribed medication that you personally were prescribed, as an athlete, that's a problem. As a non-athlete, as someone who doesn't get drug tested, whatever you want to do, that's your prerogative. There's no judgments. But taking tramadol instead of Toradol as an NBA player, where one name, one letter alteration is a banned substance and an allowable substance, you have to pay attention to that. Now, I don't care if it was your trainer that gave it to you, if it was you that accidentally took it, half sleep, whatever the case was, I don't care. It's an excuse and it's unacceptable. As a professional athlete, you should know exactly what you're putting into your body, and your staff or whoever works with you should know what you're putting into your body at all points of time, because not only is it very vital for your health and is very vital for top performance at an elite level against the best of the best in the world, but it's also the meaning between a 25-game or longer suspension and actually being able to touch the floor legally, NBA legally. And tramadol is an opioid pain reliever, which is why it's on the banned substance. And from what I've read, is he was not prescribed that. I'm not even sure if he was prescribed Toradol, but he mixed them up because the names were similar, according to him. And now he's gone. Now he's gone for 25 games. So hopefully that's a lesson for him and the rest of the Bucks, and hopefully the rest of the NBA, is watch what you're taking. Don't take something unprescribed, and make sure you know everything that goes into your body. And I'm going to jump into a couple ads. I know I'm already at 53 minutes, but we're going to take a quick break, and we'll get back to we'll wrap it up with some Marquette basketball and Wisconsin basketball talk. You're listening to the Wisconsin Whistle on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Cleveland and Columbus sports fans, I've got the show for you. I'm Jen B, host of the Show of the Land right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. You want football? I've got the Browns, the Buckeyes, the Eagles, the Purple Raiders, and more for you. You want basketball? I've got the Cavs and the Charge for you. You want hockey? I've got the Blue Jackets and the Monsters for you. You want football, aka soccer? I've got the Crew and the Crunch for you. You want volleyball? I'm going to unleash the fury for you. You want more Cleveland and Columbus sports? I've got them all for you, from the majors to the minors to the college rinks. Catch me, Jen B, every week on the Show of the Land right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sport.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy Dyhard Live.
And we're the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That gives you guys spending time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
All right, everyone. I looked it up. I just said F it and looked it up. So place kickers, defensive line, and linebackers are tomorrow. On-field workouts, their bench is Friday. DBs and tight ends are Friday, bench is Saturday, and their broadcast interviews are Saturday as well. Then running backs, quarterbacks, and wide receivers are Saturday. That's a big day. Everyone loves to watch that. And then offensive linemen, my favorite. Defensive line is my favorite to kick off the combine week of on-field workouts, the drills they do and stuff, and then the 40 times. Offensive linemen, though, are Sunday to wrap it up. So I did look that up and just wanted to update everyone on that. My wife hates it because she said it's like track and field. I continuously have it on a loop on my TV if I'm not watching Active Bucks, Marquette, Wisconsin, or UWM or something else local. I do have the NFL Combine on as a loop, so I'll watch that probably 15 different times of the same on-field workouts. I'll watch 40 times, probably 20 different times of the same players. But speaking of college and enough of that, I'll do them both at the same time. The Villanova game for Marquette and the Oregon game for Wisconsin were kind of two different storylines, but they kind of merged together as storylines. Starting off incredibly slow is detrimental to the entire team, and falling apart late in the game is detrimental to your entire game. And one team started very slow. One team crumbled at the end. Marquette started extremely slow against Villanova. They didn't make a three. I think they were 0 for 7 on threes to start off the game. And then Villanova was on fire. I think they were 8 of 10 to start off the game of threes. 5-6 minutes into the game, it was already a 10-point game, and they just never looked back. Seemed to not be able to miss a shot. They played very well against UConn, so they fell apart at the end. Villanova fell apart at the end against UConn, but I guess Marquette, they never let them get close, and it was just that was a horrible, horrible game. Villanova, 80% in the first half from three. 15 of 26 to end the game like that, and that's going to be very, very hard to beat when you are playing like that. Ben Gold, now just speaking of Marquette, Wisconsin, it was also night and day differences between both games, but just speaking for Marquette, the way they shot the ball against Nova, they were 10 of 30 from three. They did shoot 42% and made all their free throws. But, they were not good. They weren't good at all against Villanova, especially when Nova's, 60% from three, shoot 12 more free throws. They out-rebounded Marquette. They stole more. Obviously, they fouled less, but they who cared? They didn't care. They got 23 from Dixon, 21 from Brickus, who was 5 of 8 from three. Villanova took it to Marquette and cranked it up, and won. And the bright spot from that game was Zayd Lowry. Played 26 minutes, 9 of 10 from the field, 5 of 5 from 3, 8 rebounds. He had a steal. He did foul 4 times, but he had 25 points, and he was by far the best player out there against Villanova. And David Joplin, 0 for 6 from 3, 2 of 10 from the field. Cam Jones was 4 of 11. Ben Gold looked like garbage. Demarius Owens and Royce Parham both had 0 for 3 from 3. Overall, that game was just really, really poor. It was hard to watch. The first half was really bad. I mean, they scored 33 points both halves, but they weren't in that game at all. At any point in time, they were not in that game, and it was really horrible to watch. So last night they played Providence, and they did beat them previously, and this game was completely different. Now, in the first half, it was somewhat close for the majority of the first half, but Marquette did play well. They had a season-high 41 three-pointers, and Ben Gold really went off with a career-high 17 points. 12 of 26 with three-point attempts in the first half, and they were 5 of 10 to open the game on threes, and that's pretty much what helped them and propelled them to a 30-point victory. They outscored Providence by almost 20 points in the second half, and Marquette just looked super, super good. Overall, Royce Parham was pretty solid. Mitchell and Jones had a good game. Gold, he balled out, and that's exactly what they need. They need a guy who's down low who could just ball out like that. He went 7 of 9 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3 at a career-high 17. He got boards. Joplin, while he didn't shoot the best, he was getting boards, 6 boards for him. Chase Ross was 5 of 5 from the line. He only took 2 shots, but we didn't need him to shoot. He did fill up the stat sheet, though. He had an offensive rebound, 3 total, 3 assists, a steal, a block, 5 points. He played a big part in winning. Cam Jones, 17 points, 7 assists. He played a very good game. Stevie Mitchell, he played well. You had Parham that played pretty well off the bench. Zayd Lowry didn't play bad. Everyone you put into the game last night played extremely well, and this was a full team effort, a full team basketball game. And they limited turnovers, they limited mistakes, and they did out-rebound them. But, they played a very good game. They forced the Friars to shoot 23% from 3, 33% from the field. Marquette shot 41% from 3 and 44% from the field. Obviously, your free throws, 11 of 16, definitely, that should always be better. I'm under the belief you should always have 100% free throw shooting. But, Marquette had a great game last night. And the other team that had a fantastic game is Wisconsin. They had a complete turnaround from the Oregon game. 17 turnovers against Oregon, 5 against Washington. Right there, without even looking at the score, looking at scores, knowing results. If I told you, Wisconsin has 17 turnovers against Oregon and 5 against Washington, what were the results of the game? You'd say an L probably against Oregon and the W against Washington, and that's correct. Last night, they just played great. They played outstanding basketball. The game, 88-62, was not really what the game was. It was a blowout to me. Most of the game, it was – I'm not a big fan of blowouts, but as a fan, it was fun to watch because it was a blowout. You didn't really have to pay attention to the game fully because they played a complete game all around. You had excellent shooting. 10 of their final 13 shots to end the half, 10 of 16 to start the second half. If you're going 20 of 29 at any stretch of the game, it's going to be hard to beat you. 51% they shot. as a team. They dominated the boards, 41-26, 9 fouls only. They played a complete game. Yeah, John Blackwell, he had 10 boards. He was all over the place. He was playing aggressive. Steve Crowell did well down low, especially defensively. Klesmit, he got injured, so that's something to definitely watch. Tanji, he was 1 of 6. He was probably, a slight blemish. But outside of his shooting, he played a very good game as well, I thought, especially defensively. He was making an impact. And they played a super, super good game last night. Janicki had 19 minutes. He played an extended period of time. He had 8 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, no turnovers again. That's notable. Remember, I think it was last week when I brought him up, and he's still not turning the ball over, which is fantastic. But 5 as a team, here are the guys that turned it over. Carter Gilmore, 1. John Tanji, 1. Blackwell, Crowell, Winter. That's it. 5 for the entire game. Now, Washington had 10, which, they did limit it somewhat, but they couldn't shoot from 3. They did shoot 44%, but, Badgers got to the line twice the amount of time, and they played a full, complete game. From McGee to Janicki, Gilmore, Amos had a very solid game. I didn't even mention him. Xavier Amos he lit it up. 4 or 5 from the field, 3 or 4 from 3, 12 points in 15 minutes. I mean, he played a very good game. And they just had an article on Badger Notes, I believe, badgernotes.com about him and how he was a transfer. And they said, you're going to have to put in the work. You have to put in the time. You have to put in the practice. You got to come early. And you really got to work for your spot and position on the floor. And, watching highlights from where he played before, I actually got to click to see where he played before, so I'm not just telling you anything. Stats. Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois is where he played before. But just watching him, on the floor compared to highlights, last year he did score 13.8 per game, and he did, play pretty well against Northern Illinois, but the competition is a lot different. You're playing Big Ten compared to MAC or whatever Northern Illinois is in. But I really enjoy seeing Amos on the floor and succeed. The story was really nice and how, Guard had a lot of nice compliments to say about him when they were interviewing him and he was commenting for the story. The work ethic that he puts in, he goes on to the court. Instead of taking 100 shots, he takes 200. He's there early. He's really putting in the effort in the training room, in the workout room, on the court, in practice. And so seeing him succeed is actually a really nice sight. He doesn't get a total, a lot of minutes, 10 minutes a game. He's got to earn his time, obviously, but he still does have a couple more years of eligibility. And seeing that good production out of him really gives you a lot of positivity for next season that, he could, when he has to step up to make some sort of an impact, unless the Badgers are very aggressive in the portal or, strike gold with Tanji again. Amos is going to be a bench part next season, and he has the potential to be a starter. Now, against Oregon, because I have to speak about this game because this was terrible, but you're up like double digits with 5, 6 minutes to go. I mean, you're double digits late in the game, double digits, and double digits, and with 5 minutes to go, and you toss the game away. Just completely just threw it away. Overtime, they looked horrible. The offense was not aggressive at all. They turned the ball over, like I said, 17 times. You're not going to win like that. They had 5 turnovers in the final 2.5 minutes of regulation. 11 in the second half. They had 6 total free throws for the game. 6 total free throws, and none were in the second half. Just right there is kind of how you lose a game. Granted, Oregon didn't shoot all that better than you and you didn't make all 6 free throws, was shooting 25% from 3, 17 turnovers. It's not good. Not good at all. John Tonji, he led the team with scoring with 22 points, but he took 20 shots, 10 from 3. He was 2 of 10 from 3, 9 of 20 from the field. You're not going to win. You're not going to win turning the ball over 17 times. Krall had 6 turnovers. What the Badgers did, Tonji did get hot, but they had 76 possessions. The Badgers had 76 possessions, and that you see the score, 77-73 in overtime. So, that game was very, very, very frustrating because there was no way that the Badgers should have lost that game. There was no way the Badgers should have even allowed Oregon back in that game. And Oregon, while they have a 20-8 record, I personally believe that they are not that good. All the 8 losses have came in the conference. They're 9-8 in the conference. And, the Badgers are a very good team, but against Oregon, they tossed that game away. The offense was terrible. They were taking piss-poor shots. They kept turning the ball over left and right, bad turnovers, not aggressive on the boards, terrible shot selection. They weren't feeding Krall or Winter down low, who both were 5 of 8 from the field. I mean, if you want to win, you got to feed it down low, get the easy buckets. Especially if you feel the game slipping away, you got to turn it around and get some easy buckets. And that game is not that game. Honestly, watching that game, you would probably say, wow, Wisconsin is going nowhere this year if you're going to toss a game like that away, especially if you expect to go into the big to March Madness as a 3 seed or try to get the 2 seed. You're not going to win. Yeah, you'll get to this, round of 32, but once you face a good team or a team better than Oregon, that's going to be extremely tough if you play like you did against Oregon. So seeing them really come out and turn it around and crush Washington how they did, show that, hey, we can shoot the ball, we can make shots, if we don't turn the ball over much. That's very positive, and I'm very happy to see that. I think Marquette and Wisconsin, again, I'm going to stay with it, but I think both can have a lot of success in March Madness tournament. I think they could have I think they both could go very far. As of late, I think Wisconsin's going to go a lot farther, and I think they have the potential to go very far for Marquette. They have the team and a roster that can go very far, but they have to play very good basketball. They need Ben Gold to play well. They need to not face a dominant big man down low because Ben Gold's not stopping him. They need Cam Jones to lead the way. They need Chase Ross to, perform pretty well. Stevie Mitchell. They need a lot of performance from their players. And I personally don't see Marquette getting to the Sweet 16 this year. I would love for them to get to the Sweet 16 and push to the Elite 8. Realistically, I don't see that. But they have the potential to get to the Elite 8. They have the potential to make a run this year. So it's just how bad they want it and what they're going to come out and perform like when it comes that time. Wisconsin, I definitely think that they could get to the Elite 8. I definitely think that they can make a run to the Final Four. I think it's going to be determined on who they do face. Auburn is a very tough team. I don't know, I don't know against Auburn. Alabama is very spotty. I'm kind of, shaking on them because they are a spotty team. They're a very good team, though. Tennessee is pretty good. Houston is very good. Tennessee actually is good. St. John's defense is amazing. Michigan State is another team that's who we face next. And this is going to be a very large test for the Badgers. I mean, yeah, they beat Purdue, but Purdue struggled when they did beat them. So, and that made Purdue fall to 20th in the rankings. But that's going to be a super big test to see how they play against Michigan State, especially since Michigan State just beat Michigan on Friday. And this is going to be the top competition right now in the Big Ten is Michigan State, at least on their schedule. I think I have it written down. I could just look it up too, but do I have it written down? I thought I had it written down. But, you know, the rest of their schedule is pretty favorable outside of Michigan State, Minnesota, and Penn State. Penn State is 15 and 13, 5 and 12 in the conference. Minnesota 6 and 11 in the conference, or 14 and 14. Penn State's likely not making the Big Ten tournament. Washington not making the Big Ten tournament. Minnesota, they're on the cusp of it, but they're not. They might not make it if Northwestern, falters or Iowa falters, but that's their last two games outside of Michigan State. So this is going to be the last super big test for Wisconsin. And this is going to show how they're going to play when it comes to the March Madness tournament. I think Wisconsin can win. I think Wisconsin can go far in the March Madness tournament. They need good play. They need to not fall apart like they did against Oregon. They need to be smart with the basketball, keep the basketball, and be smart with their shot selection as well and their offense. Be aggressive, crash the boards, get to the line, don't turn the ball over, and take good quality shots. Aggression on offense is going to be very important. Duke, they're cruising. Florida, they're pretty good, but they did just lose. Didn't they? I think they just lost last night or the night before to Georgia. And Georgia is not good this year. So, there's tough teams. There's going to be a lot of tough teams that Wisconsin's going to have to face. And Missouri is another one that's going to be tough. A sneaky team that's going to be in the Big Ten tournament is Maryland. They're 21-6 on the year and climbing up the rankings. They're going to be a sneaky good team. Louisville is a sneaky good team as well. You always got those St. Mary's. You got the Cinderellas that are going to play. Creighton is another team I think is a sneaky good team. And that's just what it's going to be. And, Marquette dropped 5 standing points in the AP rankings. Coaches, they dropped 7. Badgers stayed consistent in the AP top 25, so they did not take the Oregon loss as a bad thing. Coaches poll did drop them a position to 12th. But I think as long as Wisconsin plays well and doesn't have a piss-poor game like they did against Oregon, where really, frankly, they tossed it away, Wisconsin could really make a run. And I definitely think that they are going to make a run. And I'm going to give you a preview of my bracket. Wednesday I'll have my bracket done. So yeah, I will share my bracket. I'll probably just talk college basketball with some Bucks that day. But and really, actually, I'm going to go over my whole bracket that show as well right before the tournament. But I'm going to have Wisconsin probably Elite 8 for sure. Depending on what seedings and who I have them facing, I might push them to the Final Four, and I think that's really Wisconsin's ceiling this year is the Final Four. I think they can push for a national championship, but they need some luck with who they're going to face. I don't think Auburn, Duke, Florida, Houston, Tennessee, Alabama, and even St. John's. I don't think Wisconsin can reliably beat them unless they have an off day and Wisconsin plays almost perfect. Michigan State, Iowa State, Texas Tech, the list goes on. I think Wisconsin can beat all these teams. Michigan State is, again, depending on how we play against them coming up. If Wisconsin just doesn't look like they can compete, then that's going to change my tune as well. Marquette, though, Sweet 16 is going to be their ceiling. and they have to play very good basketball to get there. Because how they looked against St. John's, UConn, and Creighton, who are all UConn's kind of fallen off, but I think UConn is still a good basketball team. They're led by a fantastic head coach. They have experience getting to the finals, winning back-to-back finals. So, UConn still is a good team, and that's who they're going to wrap up their season against, UConn and St. John's. Outside of, my mouse stopped working, but I'm not sure who they play the last. Let me look real quick to see who they play. I should know who they play next, but I can't think. Georgetown. They play Georgetown on Saturday, and then UConn and St. John's is how they finish up the season. So those last two games, especially against St. John's, is going to be critical for them, especially going into the Big East tournament. So Marquette's going to have to really, end on a high note, and that's going to determine how they do when it comes to time for the tournament. And we'll get into that in the coming weeks. But Badgers have some tough games. Actually have a tough game coming up. Then they end the season pretty easy. Marquette actually is the other way around. Not that tough of a game coming up against Georgetown, although, Georgetown could come in and beat them. I don't think so, but you're going to have to play well. And then they got UConn and St. John's, which is going to be a big test. And the Bucks actually have a pretty tough schedule coming up. Obviously, they play the Nuggets on Thursday on TNT, so everyone can watch that game, actually. You do not need to pay $20 a month for FanDuel Sports Network. But they play the Nuggets. I believe they're the second seed in the West. Then they play Dallas, which they don't have Luka, but Dallas is still there, Kyrie and stuff. Atlanta, then Dallas again. And then that's where their little, tough run goes. They have Cleveland on ESPN on March 9th, Indiana twice. In between there, they play the Lakers. Then after the second Indiana game is OKC, and then Golden State again, and then the Lakers. They have a pretty tough schedule to finish off the year. They play Detroit to end the season back-to-back with Minnesota thrown in there. And they have a little bit of a break in between their last so they do have a road test, West Coast. So when they play Golden State, they'll play the Lakers again, Sacramento, Phoenix, and then Denver again. Then they play the Knicks, Hawks, Suns, and then that little stretch is all right. But they end their season tough. And these next couple games are going to be very tough, especially tomorrow for the Bucks. And that's going to be a true test. And Doc Rivers has to figure it out with these games. How are you going to play your rotations when it comes to the playoffs? How are you going to prepare for the playoffs? Are you going to give Andrew Jackson some time actually to play? So it's going to be tough. And it's definitely going to be, a challenge for all three teams. And I look forward to it. And hopefully next week it's going to be a completely positive show because everyone gets W's. And you've been listening to the Wisconsin Whistle on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Click that link below to support the show. You can follow the show Twitter at WhiskWhistle, IESR, or you can follow my personal account at Dyhard. I do live tweet during games as best I can, unless I'm either moving around and watching it on my phone or just not able to get on Twitter at the time. But thank you for listening. Make sure to catch the show every Wednesday, 6 to 7, 7:30. I go over. Peace.